every dry fly season I try out a bunch of different flies. Some fancy, some not. This one is not. And I hardly fished anything else for the evening rise in May. Starting, I'd say May 8, 9, 10, towards the end of the Hendrickson spinners, through what we call the brown bugs, which is the Borchus drake, the Mahogany, and your light Henny Spinner, Barch Brown, whatever. It's only a size 16, and a lot of those bugs I mentioned are bigger, but I think trout have this default towards flies that are not as big as the biggest fly on the water. It's why I often hex fish with a brown drake size fly. And this fly is simple, it's easy to see, it floats well, and they eat it. So we're gonna put some Coq De Leon on. So I like natural tails, sorry about the phone call there. Slightly longer than the hook, and I'm gonna tie it in. I'm not gonna split it. It hasn't seemed to make a difference. I am gonna leave the stems on and wrap over them, like so. And that helps you build up a bigger body. And we're gonna work back, because we're just putting a biot on for the body. It has a tendency to maybe get a little skinny. So we'll clip off that excess there. These scissors are not fancy. The point is bent. I'm blaming a kid. I'm not sure which one, but I have an idea. So I use turkey biot, and I like turkey better than goose for dry flies because it's a nice long material. You'll see one side is kind of got a curve and doesn't have a dark line, and one side does have a dark line. The way I tie them is I put the point in, and I put the dark line facing away from me. That doesn't make sense, but it's on the outside away from me. So when I wrap, I can go over each wrap and get a nice segmented body. If you mess this up because of that terrible description of what I'm doing, I apologize. Just keep tying with this material and eventually you'll know what I'm talking about. But it does make for a nice body. So I'm about, I don't know, a third. I got a third or a quarter left, and this is where I'm gonna put my wing in. So we're using CDC. This fly in a 16 is nice because you can use CDC Puffs. If you have CDC Puffs, it turns out that I don't have CDC Puffs, so I'm gonna use select CDC feathers. And if this is what you have at your tying bench, well then you're in luck, because I'm gonna show you how I do them. And I don't know if it's the right way, it's just the way I do it. So what I'll do is I'll take like 4 or 5 feathers, and I'll just lay, here they all are like this. And what I don't like is to have those stems in there. So I'll kind of pull back all the material. I lost one. Okay, well, let's try again. Hold the stems, good. Now I hold the tips and I just kind of brush it all back. Brush as many of those long fibers back as I can. And then I'm gonna clip the tips off. There's lots of stuff you can do with those, don't throw those away. But then I fold all the stuff that all the little fibers that I pulled backwards, forwards. And I'm gonna tie it in. Almost got it here. Lost one. Found it. Good, now it's getting there. Okay, so I'm gonna tie them in right where the stems, so the stems are like right here. So my thread's gonna be on the stems, but, oh, I see them. Right there. So what I'm looking for are just the little bits of stems poking through, clip them off now. Or just get CDC Puffs, which are much easier for a size 16. But if you're tying a bigger CDC fly, this is how you do it, or at least how I do it. And it does work. So there's our big puff, and we're gonna clip it. Always clip it too long. You can always make it shorter later, but that looks pretty good like that. And now we're gonna move our thread back behind the fly, pull our Comparadun out a bit. I think that looks fair. And now we're just gonna dub with a dark brown or a rusty brown, maybe mix it up, tie 4 of one, 4 of the other. You'll want a lot of this fly because It's only good for 1 or 2 fish in the course of an evening before you got to let it dry, and get a new one on there. And even while you're fishing, you need 2 things with this fly. You need dry shake and you need Amadou. You use Amadou, and then you dry shake it. The Amadou sucks the moisture out. The dry shake gets the rest of it out and helps it float. CDC gums up if you use traditional floatant like a gink. Now we're ready to whip finish. It's a pretty easy fly. Whoops, always do that. There you go. That's a pretty easy fly to tie, and it's a very easy fly to see, which makes it a very fun fly to fish. And you crank out a half dozen of these, do them in a 14, a 16, and maybe an 18 for the olive in the summer, and you're going to be set. Super simple, very effective.